Hello everyone, this is Justinius here bringing you another game. It is a Protoss vs. Terran. Why don't we just jump on into this one and I'll let you take a look. So in the bottom right, this is on Antigua Shipyard, we have the red Protoss bulb, and in the top left, the blue Terran Okto. So we are seeing the usual good luck, have fun, U2s coming out of both players. And this is something you should see a lot in ladder games. This is a ladder game, and this is actually on Antigua Shipyard. So just to note, both players in a Protoss vs. Terran are going to have a very fun time taking that natural expansion and taking that third expansion. It should be relatively easy to hold compared to a lot of other maps, especially just the natural. You know, for a Terran it might be a little easier to take those three expansions. Maybe a little harder. It really depends on the play from these players. Generally speaking, a Terran on Antigua Shipyard wants to kind of poke and prod and get in there and do some damage with those drops. So you might see a drop in the main, at the same time it's a drop at the third, and that can tend to send players scrambling. But you know, Protoss can do the same thing with Warp Prisms. It's really up to the player. And I think that's something really cool about StarCraft 2, is that your playstyle can really change how the game gets played. It's not like chess, where even though your playstyle changes the game, it certainly starts the same every time. Things can start very different. Players can go into different paths. That is a similarity to chess, I think. Being a chess player, that's something that I enjoy about StarCraft 2, is there are a lot of the same principles in the game that a lot of players can take away from it. We're actually seeing a gas now from our Terran player, which generally tends to mean he's probably going to do a little bit of aggression, or he's going to try to jump into that much hated by Protoss 1-1-1, or something similar to it. So we are seeing that barracks finish up. We'll probably know pretty shortly. In the meantime, Protoss' gateway just finished, getting that cyber up. Very standard stuff from the Protoss camp. So Okto is churning out that Marine. The Bulb's probe does get into the base, scouts around a little bit, doesn't really see much, except actually he did notice that gas. Let me check real quick. It does look like he noticed the gas. And now his probe is about, ooh, he actually gets out. Looks like that probe might get out. And it does. So there goes that probe. In the meantime, we are seeing Okto's SCV is kind of having a field day in that base, checking the cyber, check the gas, as you saw one gas. So this is a 3-gate, actually, looking at this, just judging the situation here. We got 1, 2 gates. We're probably going to see a third in a moment, still off 1 gas. So we're probably going to see a 3-gate expand. Very interesting. Or at least a 3-gate pressure into expand. Something along those lines. In the meantime, we have a tech lab down for the Terran. He's got concussor cells coming out. And it looks like I said, he's probably going to do a little bit of early pressure, though, I mean, how early is too early sometimes, but we'll see how many Marauders he pumps out of there. He's not setting up any other barracks, so this actually makes me think, I mean, he could have put the factory down by now. I'm thinking an expansion. Probably an expansion. But we'll see. In the meantime, Protoss is getting that 3rd gate up. Has a stalker churning out. Actually, just now putting down his robo. Still has not put down a 2nd gas. Okay, now he's doing it. He might be a little gas starved on that, though. And here come 2 Marauders and a Marine. They're going to march across the map, and we'll see if they do any damage. In the meantime, it does look like, 3 gates. Okay, that warp gate's about to finish up. Bulb is almost supply blocked. I don't see another pylon building either, so this could be actually really devastating for Bulb. Now, keep in mind, Terran is holding the center of the map. There's the Zelnaga Watchtower. Bulb has no probes out on the field, so this push, even though it's kind of delayed, honestly, I think it's just a waste of time for Okto to be making this little push. Okay, we'll see what happens. That Robo is getting out an Immortal, and it looks like these Marauders see that there's no expansion down. That should be a tip to Okto, and there's the SCV, and Okto walks right back. Decent play, lets the SCV die for a little bit of information, and he's actually getting his barracks up now, just about to finish his expansion, and it looks like Protoss is in a pretty Well, he's ahead in the food count. Let's say that. However, his main issue is going to be that he's behind in the expansions. And Okto is not putting his expansion down yet. This is an advantage he really wants to take advantage of. Now, looking at the units tab, both players have the exact same amount of workers. But that kind of tells us that Bulb is ahead. I mean, he's up 9 food, same amount of workers, and he has not taken an expansion, and it doesn't look like he's planning to take an expansion anytime soon. So we may be seeing an aggressive push to try and break this ramp, or we might be seeing an expansion. Okay, sometimes I'm wrong, but that's completely fine. It looks like Okto is gearing up to get a factory and a starport out, getting his tech up and going. He seems pretty sure he's not being attacked, and that's actually why he's moving out this command center. Now, Orbital. Now, he had plenty of time. He could have just placed it down here. Those 2 bunkers make him feel very safe, and they should in this situation. So we're going to see what Protoss is up to. He is sending his observer out. He's going to see that 1 Marine on the watchtower, and we'll see what his reaction is when he gets into Okto's base. He sees that it's, well, it's transformed into a pretty standard-looking bioplay game from Okto. It started out with some Marauders coming up to poke a little late, honestly, and no real damage able to be taken. Now, this observer is going to see all. It is flying through that base. Both players just kind of gearing up into that next stage of the game. Nexus about to complete for Bulb, and Okto actually didn't take a big lead when he took his expansion early. In fact, it was really a detriment. He could have been building out of that expansion, building SCVs, and really had a big food lead. But as it is, he only has 2 SCVs ahead of his opponent, and that Nexus is now working to chrono boost out more workers. So Okto didn't take as big of a lead as he could have. That's definitely something I want to point out for people out there. If you're going to make an expansion, use it. Even if it's sitting in your base, you can build SCVs out of it. It's not that big of a deal. However, we are seeing that Bulb is actually creating those Colossi. If we look, he has 1 coming out right now. He's actually got a Stargate coming out. This is very interesting. We're not really used to seeing Stargates coupled with Colo this early unless they started Phoenix. And we're actually not seeing that Colossus upgrade, though I expected, in just a minute or 2. So that Colossus just popped out. We are actually seeing a pretty decent little army for Bulb here, but he's kind of been unharassed this whole time. And another Colossus is pumping out. I do want to note that this army is going to be pretty interesting. Our Stargate here. Oh, and there's a scan from Okto. Looking at his vision, he sees the Robo Bay. He sees all of that. And actually another scan at the front just to tell him how many units are here. He's actually taking a significant supply lead, which is of note. He's up 13 food now. But they still have the same amount of workers, so maybe a little bit of inefficiency here. And Bulb is actually making Phoenixes. This is a weird order, going with Phoenixes second and Colossus first. That's pretty odd, but we are going to see a small army from Bulb. And it looks like Okto, very Marauder heavy. There's 10 Marauders in this army. And he's actually going to push out and see if he can just break the game now. With good force fields, since this thing has full energy, I really don't think Okto can get in there. But if he uses his medevacs appropriately, he can easily drop into the base, take down a Robo Bay, mess with the supply line, really get at these probes. So really time will tell. These 2 Vikings aren't going to be much of a help, though. They're going to need more friends, and actually it looks like he is bringing more Vikings. That observer, though, saw all of that. Now, he didn't see them move out, but that should warn him that something's up. These Vikings, actually, 1 does go down, and it looks like this battle is not going to go well for those Colossi. Both Colossi getting taken down. And even though Okto's army does kind of get cleaned up, it looks like Okto's actually kind of come out ahead, in my opinion. Both Colossi taken down. Very good work. Doesn't lose either of his medevacs. Quite yet. He might lose 1. Here comes the second half of his army. And it looks like this battle could go either way. In fact, I think Terran's going to come out ahead here with that stim, and he does. Commanding lead of 20 food now, and that kind of changes things up. That Phoenix isn't going to help much. Stargate play isn't going to help that much. We really have to see what comes next. Now, Okto has no medevacs yet, and that's one thing going in Bulb's favor. All of his Marauders are injured, and that's really his key damage here against the Colossi and Zealots, is if he comes in right now, he could probably win this, but it doesn't seem like he knows that. We have a Void Ray coming out, another Colossus, upgrades, double upgrades for our Protoss player, and Terran is at 0-0. He's actually only just now starting his 1-1. So he is going to be behind here with one weapon upgrade going down for Protoss. And Protoss actually taking expansion. That's really, really unsafe, but he's going to go for it anyway, it looks like. So we have 2 Colossi, some Stalkers, some Zealots, +1 just finished up. So he's in a position that even though he was down in food, Okto really didn't capitalize on that. He could have run in and possibly just taking his advantage all the way, but we will not know because it looks like he's moving out right now. He's actually moving down, and we're going to see what he does here because it looks like Protoss has been scanned. He sees exactly what's there, and he doesn't look like he wants to get into... Oh, he does! Here it comes. Here comes the Colossus Lance, and he is pulling out. He does not want to be in that fight. Not yet. And here he comes again, moving up that ramp. He actually isn't doing enough damage here. It looks like he's just going to lose a lot of Marines, which is not what he wants. This food loss is not good for him. Definitely coming out of behind, but he is doing some decent macro to try and take care of the Zealots, but he lets his army die. Target firing that Colossus and doesn't quite manage to do more than poke a little after that shield's damage. So Okto does come in behind on that, and now this game is suddenly a lot better looking for Bulb. I mean, he has 3 Colossi up. Not very many Vikings on the field. If we look at the Viking count, there are only 2, though he is trying to get them up pretty fast here out of this 1 starport, and he actually is about to finish his 1-1 as well. So we are seeing that Okto is not out of this game yet, but it's looking really bad. I mean, there are Phoenixes out, there are Colossi out, this army is just building up, and I don't know, I just don't see Okto being in a strong situation anymore. He's now down 20 food. He is getting his 3rd up, though. That's one thing that Okto isn't truly behind on, a little bit, because that 3rd for Bulb is already up, and it actually could have been destroyed by Okto's army had he just made that little maneuver up here, pulled the Colossi out in the open, and then engaged. He would have done a lot better. And even if his opponent just cancels, that's 100 minerals gone that Bulb isn't going to get back, and it delays his expansion even more. So we're seeing a lot of Colossi. We're seeing 1-1 complete. Actually, 1-1-1. We're seeing that rare shield upgrade coming out of Bulb. But one thing that Okto kind of doesn't have on his side here is that he isn't really continuing his upgrades. If you look, he stopped his upgrades on the engineering bay. He is going for that +1 ship weapons, which will help him with the Colossi count, which is definitely soaring now at 4 Colossi. But Okto's not in a pleasant situation. He's pretty far behind. He's getting those missile turrets up. Just kind of a little help against observers. And even Colossi can sometimes be have problems with that in these kind of situations. But it looks like Protoss is content to just sit here with his army. Doesn't seem to be moving out quite yet, though he may be in a moment. It looks like he's gearing up for that. No sentries in this army, mind you. Just Colossi, Phoenixes, Zealots, and Stalkers. Actually, that 1 Void Ray sitting in here, hiding. And he's even getting ship weapons as well. So this is an interesting game. We're seeing 64 workers from Protoss and 61 from Terran. And actually, Protoss is still going. He's about to get Zealot Charge finished. And Okto really does not have any other tech. He's going with straight Marine Marauder. He's actually adding on 2 starports now. Where are those starports? Right here. 2 starports in that empty mineral line. And he has a Ghost Academy, so I suppose, going into this, he should be building some Ghosts, kind of getting ready for this next stage so he can drop some sweet EMPs and maybe come back out of this game. Some really good splits of the army, maybe splitting here and here and here. It would help him if he gets engaged. But this scan tells him, oh man, this is a problem. You know, he sees it and he goes, oh, I don't know if I can take this. It's a giant ball, though, which says Ghost to me. If I were Okto right now, I would say, wow, Bulb, thank you for grouping your entire army. Let me just get a Ghost or 2. 1 EMP who would hit that entire army. But it looks like he is moving out. We have 6 Vikings kind of out and exposed. And Okto does not want that point. Now, a turret did kind of scare off Okto's observer. He is aware of it. let's see, he knows about the turret. He just said lol turret, so I know he knows about it. But, you know, it's part of the game. Sometimes things kind of go unnoticed. Maybe he even moved down and saw that turret and missed it. But up in the top right corner, we have Bald with a Nexus in production. He's actually going to try and cover that with an attack, which is not a bad idea since he is maxed. So is Okto, though. In fact, Okto doesn't even have a Ghost out. He has a Ghost in production. And here it comes. The Vikings are engaging on the Phoenixes. And it looks like this battle is going to be a slaughter. Okto losing so much in the beginning of this fight. He's trying to move around the Colossi, but that was a terrible move. Loses so many units, and only one Colossus goes down. And there's our GG, folks. Okto is taken down in this battle. So what do I have to say about this? Honestly, I think Okto made some pretty critical mistakes. Number one, when he actually took down these two Colossi earlier in the game, that was a really critical juncture where if he had just kept pressuring, if he had just taken that small pack of units he had and kept pressuring, he really could have turned that around. Also, when he pressured again, when he moved in, and he saw that army up on the ramp, he decided to engage. He pulled back, engaged, pulled back, engaged. What he really needed to do is slide on up to that third, cancel the Nexus, because it wasn't complete yet, and move into the next stage of the game knowing I already have a third done. I'll take my third. I'll force him to attack me. Get some good splits, do some drops. I really didn't see any drops this game, and that was disappointing because he had medevacs. He really could have distracted his opponent with drops all over the place. I mean, taking out one of these forges or the Robo would have been a huge blow to Protoss, and it would have delayed the Colossus tech. The last thing I want to note is that these engineering bays really didn't get 2-2 done. Like 1-1 finished, and 2-2 was sitting there. There was an armory there. He could have had his upgrades, and that might have made the difference in this battle, though honestly, that choke point, it was not a good place to fight. I'll say that. Not a good place for Terran to fight. So pick your battles, ladies and gentlemen. And that's it for this game. Thank you very much for tuning in. This is VP Justinius saying good night and happy gaming.